Okay, and the second group, these consumers, are actually known as heterotrophs. So as organisms are either making their own energy or consuming energy by eating other organisms, they're interacting with their environment. And in this interaction, we notice there's two general patterns. One is that energy flows through an ecosystem. And by flow, what I mean is it starts at one end, it passes through various organisms, and then it's just lost out to the system or out to the ecosystem. So for example, a plant can make energy in photosynthesis. That would be an autotroph or a producer. Then that plant is consumed by a consumer, eaten by a consumer, and maybe that consumer is a chicken eating some corn. And then that chicken is eaten by a larger consumer, like a human, and the energy that came from the sun is passed along that chain. After it gets to the highest level of that food chain, the energy is typically lost as heat. So energy flows, and once it goes through that system, you have to start again. So you always need to have producers making more energy. Nutrients are a little different. Nutrients are cycled. There's a finite or a limited amount of nutrients in an ecosystem. So things like carbon, water, nitrogen, these elements in our ecosystems are constantly cycled around and reused. So even though it's a little strange, you can think about the carbon in your foot, or the water in your leg right now inside your cells may have at one point been in a tree or in the ocean. It probably was in some rock at a different point, because these nutrients are constantly cycled and reused. So there's always this interaction between living things and their environment. Not only are you getting energy from your environment, from the food you eat, but you're also made up of elements that have been cycling through the environment. The third major theme that goes in your book is that cells are the structural and functional units of life. And that's a big mouthful, but if you stop and break it down and think about what that means, structure and function, what I want you to write in your notes is that cells provide cells are what give your body structure. It builds up everything in your body. The structure of your body it's made of cells. And because the cells have functions, it gives your body functions. So cells allow your body to perform all of its functions. So cells are the structural and functional units of life. Sounds like a big fancy mouthful, but really they're just saying that cells make things, give things structure, and that structure and the functioning of the cells allows the organism to function and do things. So you can digest your food, you can walk, you can breathe, you can be sitting right now in your seat because you are made up of cells, and those cells carry out functions for your body. Okay, so cells are the basic unit of life. Every living thing is made up of cells. But you can have two different types of organisms. You can have unicellular organisms or multicellular organisms. In the picture below, you see a unicellular organism on the left and a multicellular organism on the right. Unicellular organisms are typically much more simplistic. Really all you see here is a cell membrane and some DNA, that purple stuff floating on the inside. Multicellular organisms are more complex. I have a very large nucleus in this cell and lots of other organelles all around the outside. The unicellulars are kind of like multitaskers. All the body processes have to be able to take place inside this one cell, where the multicellular organisms can become what's called differentiated. Differentiation, the word different is right in there. Differentiation just means in a multicellular organism, different cells take on different functions. So if we were to look at a picture like this of your skin cells, they would look very different than a picture of a cell from your lungs, or a cell from your stomach, or a cell from your muscles. The cells have taken on different roles. Again, that's called differentiation, and it only happens, make sure you write this down, it only happens in multicellular organisms. Cells can only take on special roles like digestion or protection or movement. Can only take on special roles in multicellular organisms. Unicellular organisms can't become specialized. Okay? Now this leads to a systems biology, or a systems approach to looking at biology. Systems biology starts to look at all those different systems that multicellular organisms can have because they're differentiated. Remember, cells make tissues, tissues make organs, organs make systems.